You're on the record.
Okay, I would like to call the October 2nd, 2025 Parks and Recreation Commission regular meeting to order. If you are able, please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. May we have the roll call, please?
Wisniewski, Bernard,
Present?
Fisher, Pepper,
Present.
Grimmy.
Present.
You have a quorum.
And the clerk just asked me to make a note that we don't have a chair or a vice chair. The electing a vice chair should have been in tonight's meeting, but it was an oversight on administration's part. But our senior commission member, Bernard, will be running the meeting today. We do not have to vote him in pro tem, just.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I make a motion, we approve the agenda.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Are there any revisions to the agenda? Are there any objections to approving the agenda as presented? Okay, hearing none, the agenda is approved. Moving on to scheduled public comments. We have none. Unscheduled public comment. Are there any members from the public who would like to speak on any item not appearing on the agenda? Are there any remote attendees wishing to speak? Okay. Moving on to approval of minutes. May I have a motion to approve the May 1st, 2025 minutes?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second it.
Are there any revisions to the minutes? Are there any objections to approving the minutes? Hearing no objections, the minutes are approved. Moving to unfinished business. We have none. New business. May I have a motion to recommend the Parks and Rec projects for the fiscal year 2027 through fiscal year 2031 capital improvement plan?
No, this is where we make a motion before staff report. We make a motion before the staff report and it's seconded, and then the motion is on the floor. Then there's a staff report and then discussion. So before we discuss it, it needs to get motioned and seconded, and then we discuss
What do
it.
we motion to, what do we?
So again, may I have a motion to recommend the Parks and Rec projects for the fiscal year 2027 through 2031 capital improvement plan?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Could we please have a staff report?
All right, so a couple things changed on here. One, I missed a couple projects during our work session and everything. A couple things that broke out was what the body said was that Old Town Playground replacement from our schematic design was expensive. Looking through that schematic design, part of phase one, which was just over $600,000, was so a schematic design is like 35%, was to perform a full design. And I think I can take what the commission said, and if we do a full design of the remodel, when we put that out to say, hey, well, this is what we want, but we want less features, and that could reduce these numbers in the future here. So I took the same numbers that were presented in our schematic design for FY '28, which was phase 1, FY '29, which was phase 2, FY '30, which was phase 3, and took that design element out and put it in there to be like, if we put it up for an RFP, we could do that for probably less cost. And I discussed this with just the public works director on saying like, how do we reduce this cost? Because the playground equipment and that playground is still way beyond its useful life. There's not parts for it anymore. So what can we do but maybe simplify it down the line? And that could mean this number even comes down, but this is what the schematic design presented. So it would be taking this number and bringing it, doing an RFP for a 100% design, a 100% design, and saying, hey, we don't want to spend $1.6 million on it from our schematic design. We want to see that like cut in half. And that was kind of the impression I got from our work session we had, was like that 1.6 million to redo that playground seemed high.
Do you know if it would be possible for them to give us options? Like, I mean, we've got pie in the sky, $1.6 million, right? And then, but could we get, you know, small, medium, and large kind of in between there? I mean, an idea of options, not just one or the other?
Yes and no, and the schematic design provided that, but I don't think with as big of a range as you would be anticipating. It was probably more like 1.5 to 1.6. So I do believe doing a full design, you could have those options and be like, hey, this is what we want. Like, we want a redone basketball court. Like, that's something that's already there. We want an open green space. We don't need to have a running water. I think there's things we can cut out, but I looked at that. I was trying to look at the schematic design and be like, what could you cut out? What could you open up? And I think getting the full design, getting away from the 35% scope, and being like, and that's another thing we could play into there. It's like, hey, we want to redesign, but we don't want the build to cost over $800,000, say. So I think that gives us that option to see what we can do with that from there. Because we didn't have a price point on our first one. We just said, build us a to the nines park, a schematic design. We met with, various community groups and got design elements. So I think what we're looking at would be reducing that and getting a full build out. And then going down from there, something that hasn't changed, our multi-purpose facility roof design, because the roof at our ice rink, that's a multi-purpose facility. If it gets windy, you can see it lift, and that needs to be redone. The design element was in there, and then the replacement element is in there as well. That's an anticipated cost. Relocation of the Parks and Rec shop, that is one that the Public Works has had on there for a number of years. That also takes a design element. I think that was something that was added in from not our last meeting. And this is where I'm gonna ask, I think I skipped ahead, jumped the gun. Jumped the gun here. So we did a analysis of our rink. We still just have that draft version. Previously, we had like a $500,000. There are 4 options that administration hasn't fully assessed. So a lot of those options do require a design phase. Previously, we had like a $500,000 marker to replace our compressor system. I think I jumped the gun on adding this $4 million one. While I think that number is a reality of switching over to a CO2 system, that analysis did present different options. And I don't think I've went over with the Public Works Director and everybody enough. So I would ask, I think the best idea to do with this is when we approve this motion, if we approve it, last time what we did was just, someone's like, may I have a motion to approve the capital improvement plan as follows? Sorry, Michael. In FY '27, it includes drop curtain for the rec center, Old Town Playground, and read it out. And I would say that we could probably take out that $4 million number, because I don't think that actually reflects all of administration. I think we have to weigh those options more and get the final draft in. So I think I jumped the gun there, but I think having that design element would be important to plug in down the line, because there is going to have to be some kind of design as we get out of as we change from R22 to another system, or if we do storage.
Could we say as presented with the amendment of that $4.1 million TBD, to be determined later date?
I think, yeah, I think you could say approved as presented in the memo, removing, I think we could just remove it. And leaving the design element, I think would be an important part in there. Because whatever option's chosen would be like, even if it is like,
Even if it is, we're gonna buy a bulk amount of R22, which is still kind of maybe kicking the can. But it would be, then we have an option to plug in after that number. So I think we could do that. Yes, I do.
Oh, I just wanted to make sure that it wouldn't fall off our radar if we took it out completely.
No, and it won't, because that design element is there, and that was, I told that number from multiple of the options had a design phase around there, because currently our compressor system, which keeps the ice cold, is currently aging, and R22, which keeps everything cold, is now, no, there's a finite amount in the United States, you can't import it or create it. And it's, as that supply gets lower, the cost gets higher. Now, how long could we go along? I don't know, but that is also an option down the line of maybe finding a way to get a large supplies of it. But how long will our system last? And then it's not worth buying an R22 system anymore. But I think those options have to be weighed by an administration, which would include our public works director, our city manager, and then discussing what we want to do next with that analysis. And that's that. So if we take it away, that design plugin, I think is a more appropriate number, because before it was 500,000, which was just kind of an ambiguous placeholder.
Are you replacing that 4 million with a different number?
That would be all depending on the options. So like there's like stockpile R22. There's synthetics that you could look at that you may have to do modifications to our current system. One of the problems with the synthetics is there could be EPA ratings on those that come out and have come out. Another one, there's like ammonia-based system, and then there's a CO2-based system. So getting that finalized version of that report, seeing what other rinks have done and have had success with, but
That would be terrible if for some reason we lost the use of that rink.
yeah, and I don't want to say, it's not like there's anything, I think, on the fringe now. Obviously, we're looking at replacing the roof. We've sprayed all the purlins. We've done a lot of maintenance on that building. And part of that analysis, I've read the draft, is overall the building is in good shape. Like the plumbing looks good. There's no leaks in the floor. There's pipes that run underneath the concrete, which don't last forever. One day those have to get replaced, but, and the, assessed boards. And so there was actually a lot of positive stuff in that report too. But without the final draft, I think I jumped the gun plugging that number in.
So we just need to remove it.
Yeah, I think removing it, but with the design element, I think that's leaving that in there. Because the design element will give us a better, if administration is like, hey, we're gonna go with option 3, and if, say, or this option, say if it was the $4 million option, that would go up to council, and council might be like, hey, what are our other options, or what are these other ideas coming out? So I think we can remove it, and the design will be a good placeholder for it. Because I don't like the ambiguous, I didn't like the ambiguous $500,000. Because if you plug in 4 million after 500,000, you're like, what happened?
Yeah.
So I think you could easily say, hey, we want to approve it as presented in the CIP with the amendment of removing replacement to be considered at a later date.
Do we need to make the same considerations for FY 28, 29, and 30 for the Old Town Playground replacement, phases 1 through 3, if that would be potentially dependent on the outcome of the design in FY 27?
So my thought on there was we would have the design done and we'd be able to edit those numbers since they're immediate, and since that 4 million's in the FY 31, it's farther out, so it's easier to drop off. Oh, yeah, please call for commission discussion.
Where were we?
But no, I think everything was kind of, we discussed it during the commission meeting, and then there's other topics came out that I'll explore as special projects come out, and then park developments happen, because we kind of had some different side discussions during the meeting.
So we'll officially call for commission discussion.
Thank you, Jenna. Everyone, please remember to touch your mic button. What I think, because we don't have it just says approve the CIP plan, and I don't think we say what plan we're approving. So I think they could say, I move to recommend the Parks and Rec projects for the fiscal year 27 to 2031 capital improvement plan as presented in the memo with removing,
I got it. I think I got
You
it.
got it?
Yep.
I'll take it.
Okay, so I move that we recommend the Parks and Rec projects for fiscal year 27 to fiscal year 3031 capital improvement plan with the amendment of removing the last line multipurpose facility refrigeration system replacement for $4,092,385.
I second that.
I
Okay, well,
request unanimous consent.
okay. Are there any objections? Okay, hearing none, motion pass. Okay, next, may I have a motion to recommend council approval of ordinance 3488-2025, accepting the donation of a pavilion from the Kenai Peninsula Soccer Club? After the motion is seconded,
Call for the staff. Oh, yeah, there has to be a motion. You're
has to
right.
be a motion.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Can we please have a staff report?
Oh. Marty moved it and, yeah, Bridget seconded it. All right, so how this originally came about was a little over a year ago, the soccer club asked if we'd like a pavilion at the soccer field, and it sounded cool, but it was like, hey, these are the things you'll have to do. You would have to, one, get a building permit. You have to, one, get engineered plans. And then they were like, okay, cool, sounds great. And then they got, I think, funding through the state lottery system to build a pavilion at the soccer. And they love our soccer field. We don't charge them to use it. They're the 95% user of it. And then it was like, okay, who's going to own this thing? Who's going to do what? We've ran into things at like Kenai Little League Field. Someone's like, I want to cut a window into the dugout. And I was like, no. But then there was a conversation of like, well, we built them. And by the way, this created no controversy with Kenai Little League or high school. It was a very friendly conversation. It was like, oh, that's a good point. Like, and this presented kind of accepting this donation cleans that up quite a bit. Things that were brought up is one, we're developing a master plan. One of those topics in there has always been a sports complex. Will that interfere with it? Well, one thing they presented in their building permit was a location, which is right now by the permanent storage structure that's out there. So and it's by the property line. It would have minimal impact on the development of the land. And what's so nice about this ordinance is there's also going into an MOU with the club of saying, so what they say in a separate agreement is saying, we'll give this to you. So we sat down with them, we're like, so you're giving us to this, like, they asked for, if they want to rent it, that we don't charge the club. And it's valued at $55,000, and I'll say none of our pavilions have raised that kind of revenue. But what it does do is, if they built it, and they give it to us, and a tree falls on it, and we're like, hey, and it falls down, by the way, it's not by any trees, we don't have to rebuild it. We're under no obligation to rebuild it. If we decide we want to cut it down because we don't like it, how it looks, we can be like, it's 100% our decision. So it's giving us a clean, like, oh, this is on our land, it's our pavilion, we can rent it out. We maintain it. Yeah, and that cost, our maintenance on pavilions is very minimal. We paint over graffiti. This was another nice thing the club did. So this is the ordinance that went forth to council last night, not to be approved, but to be introduced. Ordinances get introduced, and then at the next meeting, they get approved. In this packet, it just says, hey, this is what's going on. It's about $55,000. And then that the club is going to, through a separate agreement, would give us 100% ownership of it. So if we want to tear it down, if we're like, we can't maintain this anymore, it gets spray painted every week. I don't know. Our overhead on our pavilions is very, very low. And one of the nice things they took into consideration was our previous pavilions used the state park design, which didn't meet all of our city code requirements, which might have been an earlier time when those were built. But we sent them those designs and they used it and they tried to match it to our other pavilions and our other parks as well to kind of match what we have going on. And it's a very simple, basic, like timber frame design that's very clean looking and again, very easy to maintain. And I think it's going to be a really cool thing. I think the soccer club's planning on coming to the next council meeting and being like, hey, thank you so much. Like we really wanted to donate this to the city because we think it will elevate the field. You guys and like we appreciate how much the city does at the fields to take care of the club. And you know, a few years ago we were able to host state, and they strive to do that again too. So we have a very active club, and they've always expressed how grateful they are for the city. But any other concerns or questions? I'd happily answer.
Okay, let's go ahead and call for commission discussion.
If there's any questions about, like, again, I think the things that we talked about when we met with the club was that we talked about location, maintenance, and made it very clear, like, hey, you know, if we decided to remove this tomorrow, we could. And another aspect the club really wanted to stress that this isn't affecting like their user fees or anything like that. They didn't pull from their user fees of their things. This is a purely like, I believe, again, the funding was from the state lottery. It was like, oh, this is a great thing. And when you submit that, you have to submit a project. So they're like, well, let's see what happened. Like a pavilion would be great. And I think this strived from, they asked us for more picnic tables the last 2 years. And I don't know if anyone has kids in soccer, but we had astounding feedback from the community this year through putting out like 4 picnic tables at the soccer fields. People were like, we could sit and eat and we could like do a team barbecue. So I think this was a really cool, like cooperative thing that moved forward. And with this ordinance, again, is going to come an MOU that says very cleanly, hey, you can have this. Like this is the city's. And we have other structures around that have been built in the last 30 years that hasn't. It was more like, I think there was handshake deals and like, oh, this got built. Oh, let's get money here, here, here. And someone's like, well, we built this. We should get rights to it. And this makes it clean, and this gives us the pavilion, which I think is very generous of the club. And likewise, like I said, they're really excited to see it built and be used.
I think this is another example of community partnership, so that the city of Kenai engages in order to benefit members not only of Kenai, because there's kids from other communities that are playing soccer as well. So I think the agreement and the MOU that you reference, it's pretty clear. Like there's not a lot of room for confusion now or later, and it seems like both parties are benefiting. And in the end, it's the community that's benefiting. Like you were saying, everyone's excited about picnic tables. They'll be especially excited about a whole pavilion.
And I think that was one thing the club was really excited about, to do this and be very mindful of. They're very generous of that. Like, you know, there's a lot of clubs that have like raised fees over the last 5 years in other states and stuff to make ends meet. And they're like, through cooperation with the city, this is one way we can help improve our facility too. Those were questions I think we were anticipating. We're like, hey, so we are taking on the maintenance of it, but they consulted us on the design and took in our other pavilions. And, you know, but again, besides a little bit of graffiti here and there, our overhead costs are very low on the pavilion.
Is there any other discussion? Okay, if not, I'd like to call for a vote on the main motion, unless somebody would like to call for unanimous consent.
I'd call for unanimous consent.
Thank you. Are there any objections? Okay, not hearing, any, this motion passes. All right, this moves to reports. Director Best, may we have your report, please?
You will see in your packet, I attached the last two mid-month reports. Assistant Director Brown pointed out that July is mentioned twice in the numbers, but they do change from July to August. Again, these are mid-month reports that I submit to council. Actually, every department head submits a packet to the second meeting in council from the previous month, and it's called a mid-month report. It gives a snapshot of kind of what's going on. So like by next Tuesday, I'll be submitting September's mid-month report. And usually I'll do a snapshot of what's going on in our parks, what's going on at the rec center. We'll start attaching the MPF ice calendar, even though that does change quite frequently, but it kind of shows what's going on in our local areas. One of the things I attached in to after that, and I'll attach to the mid-month reports, are pictures of things, such as our field of flowers, where a lot of people took photos, and then flyers. Like next weekend is our Fall Pumpkin Festival, and that is a very fun thing. We're changing the location this year. We're putting that up in the green strip, where we're gonna just change it. We're gonna make a pumpkin patch. I'm doing finger motions. Just where we're on field 3 on the green strip, we actually have a section of fence that we remove. So in the springtime, we can move snow off the field, so high school season can start sooner. So we're actually gonna peel that back and do an archway and do like a pumpkin patch where you can, I think what I said earlier, which like you can let the kids off the leash and they can run. But no, it's just an open field where we can lay out a bunch of pumpkins. We have a lot of pumpkins, and containing them to the hay maze was always a lot of work, like because we had to restock it continuously. But we're gonna have a pumpkin patch, which I'm excited about to see how it differently it feels. And then of course, we'll have our pumpkin decorating contest that the library helps put us on. And then we'll be doing our famous pumpkin drop, where we drop a pumpkin from a ladder truck and we try to hit a target. If we hit the target, we have a bunch of coupons for free ice cream cones to McDonald's that we'll give out. One year the target was not hit and we gave out suckers as a yes, but I think we have a good sized target. It was a trash can, and I guess now we have a puddling pool that we usually use, and it's been hit and it's fun. And I think the first year we did it, we dropped a pumpkin and we just watched it explode. That was fun. And then we did a target, and then we didn't hit the target, and then we hit the target, and then but the other thing we did is we brought up more than one pumpkin, because it's a lot of buildup for about a 2-second drop. And now I think we bring about 5 pumpkins up in the ladder truck, usually done by the mayor or someone he nominates. Councilmember Dothit got it, was that 2 years ago?
2 years.
Yeah.
The first year of the pool.
Next time, we need to do pumpkin chunkin', where they catapult them.
They catapult it
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's such a cool thing, and it was such a cool gift from it. The first time it happened was about 6 weeks after I started with the city, and I feel like sometimes I get credit because it happened there, but the previous director, like a month before he retired, was like, hey, we should talk to the fire department and do this. And it just became such a cool thing, and I think people love it. Sometimes they get confused with the airplane pumpkin drop, but I think this is it's just fun. I love it. I've enjoyed it. I get to get the crowd to do a countdown every year, and it's a blast watching kids. You know, last year it was rainy and freezing. It was very, very cold, and I remember my cousin came up with her kids, and she's like, "When does the pumpkin drop?" I'm like, tentatively an hour, because you can't ever. We say 2 p.m., but firefighters can get called away. We were trying to come up with contingencies. One year there was 2 firefighters there, and firefighters got called away, and they stepped up to volunteer to run the truck, which was very nice of them. And the fire chief said, we'll have contingencies in place. So we say roughly 2 o'clock. But it's just such a blast. And it was funny, my cousin was like, we're going home. She was back. She was back at 2 p.m. She's like, they convinced me to stay. But it was a blast. It's like one of my favorite moments of the year. So
I noticed the flyer, I mean, just as like where and the start and end time? Is there a flyer someplace that indicates what's happening at different times? Like you said, the pumpkin drops at about 2, I mean, that kind of stuff?
I don't know.
I mean, I'm just asking because if I showed up at noon and the pumpkin wasn't going to drop until 2,
It's not laid out, it's laid out on.
Okay, but do we have it broken down in like the Facebook post or anything? Sorry, it's a weird time to have a talk about that, but. In the pumpkin flyer. Okay.
well, I mean, if you want feedback, I would want to know that. Especially if I still had little kids at home, I would want to know, like, when's my last possible minute, especially if the weather is not great? When do we need to get there to not miss the part that my kid is excited about?
Whether it's the color, the art contest.
Whatever it
or
is,
the-
yeah.
Opening when it opening up what time it's first come first serve for the pumpkin, so when it is open if you want to get a pumpkin kind of thing. Yeah.
Last year was the first year we didn't, which was nice. No, I think staying at 5 is solid, but then see how it goes, so,
5 pallets of pumpkin.
yes.
I think they've got more than they've had in the last few years.
5 is where we landed last year, and we kept increasing it. We went like 3 to 4 and then to 5. And then usually about 50, so we provide the pumpkins too for the library, for the pumpkin painting contest. You can pick up the pumpkins at the library, and then kids do really cool designs. Again, and sorry, I feel like I say this all the time, but one thing I really enjoy about the mid-month report too is if you guys are ever curious about what's going on in other departments, if you go in city council packets, again, the second meeting every month, all department heads submit these. So if you go into that packet and you Control F or just flip to it's usually towards the end, there's just a packet of like 10 or 11 memos that kind of give a brief snapshot of like, oh, this is going on, this is going on. And sometimes they'll add pictures and flowers. Like my November mid-month report on October always has a picture or two of the pumpkin festival. And it's always just a nice little snapshot of like, oh, this is what's going on for police. This is what's going on for fire. This is what's going on in finance. Like it's a good way to get a snapshot over the city. I think it's a really neat tool that we have.
Do the kids pick up the pumpkins prior to this event and decorate them, say, at home, or how does the decorating work?
Yes, so that part of the program, we mark it, but we also go to the library, but yes, they pick them up at the library and then they decorate them and there's a page that they get, like, hey, this is what you do. It's a no-carve pumpkin contest. And then you would bring it to the event the time is spelled out in that packet. Yes, but there's a very nice flyer too that breaks down the whole pumpkin decorating contest rules and regulations. I guess, conversation and everything. The last Sunday in September, we always host the Kenai River Marathon. It's a co-hosted event with the chamber, and we had over 200 runners this year. And we had a lovely day on Sunday. I don't know if people saw it out and about, but it was just a gorgeous day. We set up our chute where me and Assistant Director Brown live, which happens to be the windiest part of that whole parking lot. We're debating maybe moving it like 20 feet to the left, because you could walk 20 feet to the left and feel less wind. I know that's a weird thing, but no, our runners seemed like they had a great event. The winner finished at 3:18, and he had an amazing finish. And there's always cool moments at the finish line. Like this year, there was a group of people who had a sign that said, "We traveled 2,000 miles to see you finish," and another one said, "We can do surprises too." I don't know the hidden meaning of that. Because he said on his registration, it said his hometown was Alaska. But he didn't see them because he had just ran a marathon. He wasn't looking past the finish line. He was looking at the finish line. Right when he crossed, he looked up, and it seemed like he almost broke down into tears, but it was really cool. And I heard him say to his partner, like, did you know they were coming? And she was like, I knew they were coming. So they got to surprise him after a 26.2 mile run. And there's just always awesome moments. The chamber director's son, who's still in elementary school, finished the half marathon. I guess he just kept upping his game this summer. He ran a 5K, he ran a 10K. And he was, yeah, he's 12, which I think is the minimum age. And man, he was hilarious, but he finished that. And it was just, that was another, there's always amazing finishes and people who get to finish their first race. I always say the joke that, I run a marathon because I have not run a marathon, but I helped run this one. But it's always here to really hear really fun feedback. One thing we didn't do for a number of years, there used to be like silly signs that said motivational things such as, Jenna, do you remember what the fun signs say? There's really fun motivational signs that have, I know, I'm so sorry. I'm only saying that, so that was a big part of the marathon that I didn't know about when I started. And Jenna's run the marathon, the half and the full. Yeah, and she was like, what happened to the signs? And they have like fun puns.
I remember seeing the sign.
There we go, yes. And I can't think of the fun puns, but we've re-embraced that and got them back out there. And it's always fun to hear feedback from like, oh, the
When you're
course is
running
amazing.
And you feel terrible, and you're on some whatever mile, 5, 17, whatever one that you're on, and you get like a funny little like punny sign that you come up on, it takes you out of that moment. And you kind of get to like live in that humor for a quarter mile until you go back to your suffering. So.
No, and it was great working with we got really nice printed ones this year.
And Brittany with the chamber.
And Brittany with the chamber. The chamber. So again, it's a co-hosted event, which is always interesting, like having like 2 organizations lead this event, and they handle all the registrations and they get sponsorships, and then we do all the logistics and the setting of the course, and we work together a lot on it. But it's really, again, I think Sunday was an amazing day. It was just fun to see, and seeing the runners finish. There's always some heartache too with, people getting injured and no one got hurt, but like when someone doesn't finish and they come and turn in their bib and say, I did not finish, but everyone had a good attitude. And again, the weather was just amazing. So that was a really fun race that we had. That will be mentioned in my mid-month report that'll come out. I'll submit next week. I'll talk about the marathon because it happened in September, so as those come out.
All right, I don't suppose you have a report from Commission Chair? No, okay. All right, Councilmember Dothett, may we have your report, please?
Yeah, we had what was supposed to be a fairly short meeting last night because there actually wasn't any resolutions to vote on for public hearing, but we did have a few presentations. We had a presentation from our audit team for the city audit that just describing how they're going to do audit and how the process work and any new things they might be looking at. We had a declaration for Domestic Violence Awareness Month, given a declaration to the Lee Shore Center. We had 2 new student representatives. We have a new student representative, Mr. Tanner, who has been a representative for the city council for quite a while, and now he's moving over to Parks and Rec. And then we have a new one moving in to the council member position for student representatives. So a couple new separate student representatives were there. Some contract awards, some slight changes here and there. Honestly, nothing too game-changing going on last night, so.
I want to follow up. Student Representative Tanner did email me today and said he was very sorry he couldn't make it. He had marching band practice, but he plans on being at all the meetings in the future.
They're getting ready, well, they have homecoming this weekend, but they're getting ready to do a huge, like, national competition. I can't remember where they're, maybe Kansas City or something like that, but it's a big deal that they qualified and that they're participating and going to be representing Kenai.
Nice.
Yeah.
Moving on to additional public comments. Are there any members from the public who would like to address the commission at this time? Are there any remote attendees wishing to speak? Okay, we'll move on to next meeting attendance. Please note the next meeting is November 6th, 2025. Is anyone planning to be absent or attending remotely? Okay. Time for commissioner comments and questions. So we'll go around and see if you have any questions or comments. Matter who I start with?
No.
Okay. Sorry, Commissioner Grimmy?
No, I don't have any comments. Everything looked really nice all summer. I know it's a lot of work to mow everything and plant everything and weed everything, and everything looked really nice. Good representation of our city for folks that are here for whatever reason.
Thank you. I'll pass that along to our Parks and Recreation staff.
Thank you. Commissioner Pepper?
I don't have any comments, but I'll piggyback on Commissioner Grandy's.
Thank you again. I'll pass it along to our staff. Again, I think they work all the time and they care a lot, and they always appreciate positive feedback. So.
Thank you. Commissioner Fisher?
I don't have any really comments. I just wanted to thank you for being so responsive whenever I have questions. I'm still in the process of learning, so I don't have a lot to say most of the time, but thank you for being responsive when I do ask you questions.
No, thank you. And I think this was a good meeting to get back in the swing of things, kind of coming out of summer and coming back into our first formal meeting. This was nice. And then I'm going to sneak one more in there because Councilmember Doffit's son also helped keep things beautiful this summer, which was fun. This was the first year we were able to hire people who were 17. That was something new we did. And that was kind of a cool thing. So it was cool to see some young people get out there and be able to get out and help keep Kenai beautiful.
I'll go ahead and just throw this in. I actually wondered personally when I was driving around if there were any signs of encouragement, because I saw some folks and they looked like they're really like mile 25 or something, and I thought that would be a good idea, but it sounds like it's already happening, and that's really cool to hear that. I do wonder, is that something that the city and the chamber work on, or is there maybe potential for members of the public to submit something in the future, or do you guys do that already?
No, I think that's a good idea. We're always pushing for again for volunteers. They weren't able to do it this year, but I think the Kenai River Queens. I know this. We don't have a formal procedure, and I love that suggestion. But the Kenai River Queens, which is a all-female hockey league, they had members set up a booth, and I think they actually took chalk and drew stuff on the path that had motivational stuff on it. So they just went full bore and jumped into it. But I love that idea of like, hey, if you want to make a motivational sign for your water station, that's where we get a number of volunteers there.
All right, thank you. So seeing no further business before this body, we are adjourned. Thank you.